and I'm sure we can meet to have one or two. Let's check out what's on the front pages of the dailies, and we'll do it from the screen. We'll start with the Republic Press, where Pinaman's death is unnatural, according to the pathologist. Well, IGP under fire to retire for officers in waiting. And yesterday we mentioned that here as well, that if you have ever lived in a barracks before, you know that once you enter, there's a certain progressional route for you. So when people get old and they sit at the top, not just the IDP, there are other COPs as well who are sitting at the top who have been given contracts. And the people down there are brewing. They say they should ask them to go. Well, Hassan Ayariga explains why Ghana is likely to have a white president soon. And gunmen kill wife of GMPC boss's driver in Kumasi. Well, let's check out the next paper, shall we? Yeah, the next one is our daily statement. It says IGP meets BOG boss, bank MDs over safe movement of cash. What's at the top? John Boedu is petitioning the CID over Galamsey allegations. He says he is not involved in any way. And come and do business with us, Akufo-Addo tells global investors. Well, let's check out the next paper, shall we? Today newspaper, organizers increase charges. Okay, petrol gone up, organizers going up as well. What next? Justice delayed. 174 million Ghana cedis lawsuit against healthcare network being played in Accra High Court. And chaos and anarchy, armed robbers take over Ghana. Photo of our National Security Minister and our Inspector General of Police. The Finder newspaper, it says that SL Global to supply Sputnik V vaccines at $18.5, according to the Ministry of Health. You know, previously I'd heard some $26 per dose, but now we're hearing 18.5. Obviously, we're told that it's because government had changed the payment arrangement from 3 years to 1 year, which is why we have that. John Boyd petitions the CID over video accusing him of engaging in galamsey. Ghana to produce COVID-19 vaccines. President Akufo-Addo is telling us now. 10 years SDG financing roadmap launch. That's government, courts, private sector to bridge the $450 billion financing gap. Allegations of corruption, bad corporate governance, false, according to the GCB Bank, which is the next one. The Daily Guide. 4 gold robbers grabbed. Burkina bandits target Ghana. And Tor MD, deputy, sacked. Wife killer loses fight over cops, and pest and vector controllers join hands. There you have it. The BNFT, ECOWAS fears insecurity in region could derail the pandemic victory. Apex Bank posts remarkable growth, and also disregard false and malicious publications about GCB Bank. And Pest and Vector Control Association launched to regulate activities. Public servants push for base pay increase. Not impressed with the executive pay freeze, as was announced by the president, by the way. Which is the final one? The Ghanaian Times. Ghanaian Times says police offer 20,000 Ghana cedis reward for arrest of Adedenpo killers. And it's not Adedenpo, it's Adedenpo killers. I've seen a lot of even in the police statement. Health Minister calls for regulation of pest vector control sector, and SDGs financing gap. President urges private sector to help provide $450 billion US. Justice for All program, 839 remand prisoners freed. Prison population reduces from 33% to 13%. In the meantime, their feeding remains 1 cedi 80 pesos for the full day for each individual prisoner in there. The Daily Graphic, truth, accuracy every day. Tackle crime comprehensively. Security experts tell government. And 20,000 Ghana cedis bounty on robbers. Professor Enin there, Adib Sani as well, and my good brother Kofi Obing are also there. Digitization drive, all must be on board. That's what Graphic and Stanbic Bank yesterday discussed in that thought leadership program. My guest this morning is Dr. Bernard Okoboy. He's a former legislator for the good people of Lejokuku in Accra. He's also a former board chairman of Kolebu, former deputy minister for health, a bike rider in his constituency. He likes to eat kinky with the boys, play football with them. He likes to wear his bow tie, and they call him Lejokuku Jay-Z as well. Welcome, Doc. How are you doing?
My brother, by his grace, I'm fine. Very good morning to all your viewers. And to my brother, you know, he's looking very nice. I always say that how an opposition figure looks is a true reflection of the government or the state of affairs. Once you enter a country, maybe the incumbent might be looking very nice because they are in power. But when the opposition is looking very nice, that means that at least it is not that bad.
I hear you. Adam, Agbana is a deputy national youth commander
niceness
of the NDC. Adam, are you being treated very fine?
Johnny, good morning to you.
I'm tempted to believe him.
Good morning to my senior brother, Dr. Koboy. I don't want to respond to his mischief this morning, except to say that when the people lose confidence in the incumbent party, when the people know that the government cannot travel beyond the next election, they begin to invest in the opposition. So if I'm looking good, it's a reflection of the fact that a lot of people have confidence in the NDC coming back. So they are investing in us.
Okay, they are ditching the government.
Yeah.
The gains made by the government for the opposition.
Exactly.
They are preparing to pitch camp with you.
Because they are investing in the future.
I see. Anyway, thanks to Grandpa Clothing in Dansoman for my outfit. 020-985-5696. Again, 020-985-5696. Get something special for you and yours. And they make ladies' clothing also these days. So you may want to get there and get something for yourself. Let's take a quick listen to my colleague Jifa Bampo, who had a conversation and which will air later on 3FM 92.7 at 2 p.m. We call it the first take, and later on TV3 at the scheduled times. But she sat down with the Interior Minister, lawyer Ambrose Derry, and take a listen to a bit of what they said. We'll come back to discuss the security issues because that's what's trending. Doc is here. We talk about COVID-19 and the vaccine issue. But first, take a listen to this.
Chief, I want to say that that incident is very regrettable. And first of all, I want to take the opportunity on behalf of the President and the government and my own self to extend our condolences to the bereaved families, to the police family, to the civilians, and also for those who have been injured. I wish them a speedy recovery. It is an unfortunate thing. It is true that in the past few months we've had attacks on bullion vans, but anytime it happens, it brings forth a number of issues that I want to address in this matter. What we call bullion vans here are just ordinary vehicles with plates on them, which are not armored, don't give the police any protection or the cash any protection. And so it is easy for bullets to go through them. So there are no bullion vans. That's number one. Number two, the police who accompany these bullion vans are not adequately protected. Under the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we've taken steps to protect our police men and women when they go on such special operations. We provided a number of bulletproof vests, a number of bulletproof helmets, and though the first, consignment that came in, about 4,000 of them, I think came in just before we experienced the deaths of a number of policemen in the past few years. And the police officers were encouraged because we then issued those vests for them and also made provision for them to carry side weapons to protect themselves.
But if you really have these vests, then this officer would not have died.
Yes, 5,000 is not adequate. We are dealing with over 40,000 police officers. And for those who have special interests, such as banks and financial institutions, we do not think that the limited resources that we have for the protection of the general public should be allocated to that special needs group. So we expect that in those cases, they should make a contribution to protecting the police that we allocate to them. Because in fact, the banks don't get held responsible when we lose policemen. The government does, I do. And I don't think that the Bank of Ghana fixing 2023 is acceptable. It's not. So is it a death sentence for those police who are going to assign on the bullion vans until 2023? That certainly is unacceptable. But having said that, I would want the Bank of Ghana and the bankers to do something more reasonable.
I understand
more
the
urgent.
I understand the police have given a deadline of end of June 2021. Isn't that too sudden? That is what, just 2 weeks to end, and we know that these are special vehicles. They need time to be procured and brought into the country.
No, we believe that there's capacity. Even some people in country can help deal with that. And I believe that if they want to order them, these are financial institutions. If they order, they would get them. But what I want to tell you is that I am behind the police. And for that matter, all the security agencies, that we cannot, when we are short of making the 1:500, allow our police, trained police, to be shot day in, day out.
So that's lawyer Ambrose Derry. He's Honorable Minister responsible for Interior. And he's also the man at the helm of affairs in terms of issuing permits for people to own guns. And we know that by the 2014 base survey that was done, only a minute fraction of those who come to seek for permits to hold guns come back to renew their licenses. And too many guns are floating around. No be me talk them. The data is there. Doc, let me begin this conversation with you and look forward to the full interview at 2 p.m. on 3FM 92.7 on the first take. And also at 11 a.m. on TV3, we'll play the full version of that conversation with exclusive with lawyer Ambrose Derry with you. Okay, let me begin the conversation with you. So now the IGP is talking and giving the banks an ultimatum to say by the close of June, if you don't have a fully armored bullion van, you should count yourself out of their protection list. I remember that as a boy, George Opesika Agude of the CPP had a company called Goldcrest. Goldcrest, if I remember, had bullion vans. Most of the security institutions that you see these days, private security, have none. They have what now Yakub Hamza calls bread delivery vans. Now the Bank of Ghana is raising this concern and giving them such a timeline. Is it realistic?
Yeah, Johnny. So first of all, let me say good morning to all your viewers and also to Honorable Kennedy Ohine Japan, my senior. Today is his birthday.
Oh, okay.
We wish him very well, long life and greater grace. And it's the birthday also this weekend of Dr. Macaulay. Okay. Of the Magdan Group.
It's actually today.
It's today, right?
Today. So I wished him earlier. Yeah.
You know, he's building. He's working on about 30 million Ghana City project in my constituency, the Teshi Sports Complex. Okay. By the Magdan Foundation. Okay. And I always take the opportunity to thank him because I mean that's a very significant capital project where you're going to have 2 football parks in the complex with a boxing gym, with a basketball court, with hostels and all that. And that would actually change the face of economic activity in the constituency. So he's a hero and we continue to pray for him. You know, when it comes to security, I mean, my approach is always to be very targeted. Targeted as in to identify the issues. Let's say 2 months ago, we're not discussing security. Right. So something has led us to discuss it. So my approach is always to look at the factors that possibly are accounting for the current conversation. Yes, conversation. And to surgically deal with the factors so that we can quickly get out of that situation. And also to put in place the safeguard for improved security going forward. I have listened to some people who have this temptation to talk about ineffectiveness of police hierarchy and move all the way to Jubilee House and finally end with the president before they get satisfied. Anytime we use that approach, we'll always come back to square one. The issue is that what is leading to this? And I'm happy you mentioned Goldcrest. You see, once there's competition, there are 2 things that can happen. Service can be improved or it can deteriorate. Right. That's what competition does. And when I say competition, I mean we allow players to be in that industry. Security that cuts money. So once you register companies and there's competition, some might offer lower prices for the same service. Right. Others might offer a higher price, but it will come with maybe better service in terms of what they use. So if I am a company, savings and loans, and I don't have the muzzle that, let's say, Zenith Bank has or GCB Bank has, and I want to move or cut money from my place to say, Bank of Ghana, because of my muzzle, sometimes I might even have the muzzle because I want to make savings, trying to be smart. I'll go for a security company offering the same service, but with poor logistics like this unarmored pickup. I hope you got what I'm saying.
If I were the Bank of Ghana, I won't give you money.
Yeah, no.
Because if you bring a bread delivery van, I won't put money inside.
Correct. I'm happy you are saying. But the point I'm making is that what led to this is the competition, where you've registered. Maybe
I appreciate that.
Exactly. Then I come to your issue. Usually, when there's competition, standards can fall. Nobody talks about it. It is when it generates a crisis that, more often than not, it triggers supervisors to intervene in the market. And this time, the one I'm talking about, the supervisor, is the Bank of Ghana.
Right.
So the Bank of Ghana as a supervisor, having seen the competition, you know, sometimes it's a very delicate thing where you see standards fall. Sometimes they fall in a way that is not too obvious or it's not drastic. It takes over time. Maybe you'll be shocked. This company, for example, it's possible that the company that was doing the operating the pickup, it's possible that they have armored vehicle. They would have started with, let's say, 3-4 armored vehicle. As they get more customers, then they will be moved from armored to semi-armored, and then now to plain car. So if you are not a supervisor that is very diligent and watchful, by the time they degenerate, you'd have missed it. But I think, like I said, it's solutions that I want to get. Right. So the first solution is for BOG to be strict and to ensure that they provide that particular service within the conditions that will guarantee.
Is the IGP being realistic with this 15-day ultimatum?
I think
because the Bank of Ghana wrote in 2020 directing the banks to have armored vehicles by 2023. Now IGP says by the close of June. How long does it take to import those armored vehicles?
You know what? Let me even add a second one before I come to the IGP's directive. That if you take, yes, one thing about a competition. You know, previously, the traditional way of doing things that people sell, they close, they'll keep the money in their shops, and then they'll take it to the bank.
That's right.
So most of these vehicles move from one financial institution to BOG, or from BOG to a financial institution. Right. But guess what? In a bid to reduce robberies at shops and markets, they started sending vehicles into the shops.
And that's what happened at Adede.
Exactly. So with that one, it is more or less collection points. They are taking the money from place to place. Because there are so many points that you need to service. It might be almost, I'll not say impossible, it looks very difficult. Because this is not a traditional route between BOG and a financial institution. But they are trying to reduce crime at points of sales. So most shops you see in Accra now, they don't send the money to their house or in their shop. They come for the money. Now, so the question is that how do you even do that in a safe environment? Beyond armor, like you said, maybe it might be difficult to meet armor requirements immediately. One of the things that can be done is to make sure that when you have a pickup like that, what you have in there is a safe.
Okay.
So that assuming you've put a very heavy safe at the back of the pickup and the number is coded, anything they collect, they close it. Even if they come under attack, you understand? Once you open, it will not be like the money is in a plastic bag or you open and take it away. Exactly. So that the worst you get is the one that immediately was collected, maybe some few thousands. But in terms of the money, it will have, even if the car is not armored, because thieves know that, the robbers know that once they shoot, they get access to the money. And they do intelligence before they attack. If they know that these vehicles, the money is in a safe, and by the time you go through routines to pick the money, it is 30 minutes or 1 hour, they know that the operation is not feasible.
But is the IGP giving us a knee-jerk reaction?
No, well, I mean, I think two things. First of all, I agree with some of the things he's said. And for others, I think that we can be more, what's the word, either innovative or we can reflect, we can be, this is not a time to say state policy and otherwise, because you are not, the environment is like a crisis. So you want to be very calm and not commit yourself to a lot of things. First of all, I agree with him when he says that, look, the banks have a duty to make sure that the vehicle that they use to transport the money is armored, so that the risk of attack goes down. Then number two, from his end, I also believe that, I don't think it's too much, to be honest with you, to make sure that every policeman that is providing such services and can be under attack should be in how do you call it, bulletproof.
The vice president promised that, says helmets and
You know,
bulletproof and
I
body
think-
cams
I think-
and sidearms.
So what we have to do is to get the details to find out whether we procured some from the time.
400 and 4,500.
Yeah, whether we procured
At the
some.
last count, 4,500.
I mean, you've done the count, but my point is that it's very possible that we've procured. It's possible that they've arrived. The number might not be enough for maybe all armed men across the country. What is the deficit? How do we close it? What are the challenges? How do we support and finance them?
Okay.
I mean, so that the discussion becomes beneficial.
You have not answered my question whether the IGP took a knee-jerk reaction with that statement that all banks by the close of June should have armored vehicles.
The deadline. Well,
I've asked you 3 times already.
No. I mean, when you say knee-jerk, the timeline might look quite. It doesn't look that feasible. Looking at maybe how long it will take to make a vehicle armored and the quantities we need. But I think it's a way of also putting pressure on this. How do you call it? The BOG and the bankers, and also reminding them of the agreed timeline. I think they had discussions where this was the date. But in terms of feasibility, I'm on your side that it will be difficult. But in the meantime, I mentioned the safe. There are interventions you can put in place.
Right.
No policeman should be put in harm's way without, how do you call it?
I hear you.
bulletproof
Adam,
vest.
stepping from. So yesterday, the IGP and the Police Management Board visited the family of the slain policeman, and it's become routine. I won't be surprised if in the coming days he's giving a rank posthumously, and then maybe that ends it. For you, what kind of reforms are you looking forward to seeing? One, the IGP has said, by the close of June, if you don't have an armored vehicle, we won't help you to police your money anymore. Realistic?
Johnny, good morning once again to our viewers. Johnny, issues of security are issues that are very important, and in discussing them, we must discuss them in a way that while we diagnose the problem, we are also able to find lasting solutions.
Right.
I have always said that when you go to a country and there is insecurity, everybody is at risk. Maybe a few powerful people in government have military protection, they may have police protection and all of that. But you and I, ordinary citizens, if we allow the government of the day to get away with incompetence, with ineptitude, and with their inability to deal with security-related issues, all of us are at risk. Our lives are at risk. Johnny, I am not comfortable that in this whole discussions this week, we are reducing the issue of insecurity to the kind of van that the banks are using to transport. There's a bigger conversation.
It's a starting point.
It cannot be the starting point.
What should have been the starting point?
The starting point must be that what is accounting for the height in insecurity that we have today. That in the same week, the wife of the GNPC boss's aide was killed. That in the same week, we have heard of other murder cases, kidnappings, other brutalities. So that is the starting point. It cannot be the starting point with the kind of van that the banks are using. There is a bigger conversation about the state of insecurity and lawlessness that we have in this country today. Johnny, never in the annals of our history have we seen this heightened insecurity that we are experiencing today. And it is so important to some of us because all the fundamental human rights that we are entitled to, as enshrined in our 1992 Constitution, cannot be enjoyed in this state of insecurity. I don't know about you, but what I know is that, Johnny, when I leave my house every morning, my only prayer is that God should be able to protect me, because the state, which has the fundamental, the primary role to protect me, has showed clearly, demonstrated over the past few years that they are unable to offer me the protection that I deserve.
Are you not overstretching this?
I am not overstretching it, Johnny. People leave their homes and they are not guaranteed that they can come back. How many cases of police brutalities haven't we experienced or seen in the past few years? Johnny, how many police officers have been shot on duty? Meanwhile, just 2 or 3 years ago, the vice president, who happens to be the chairperson of the police council, told all of us that in retooling the police service, they were providing vests for all the police officers. How come this police officer, young man, innocent man, who is paid an allowance as low as 125 Ghana cedis extra for protecting the bullion van, ended his life? What happens to his family? The politicians will go greet the family. IGP will go greet the family, donate something little. A few months' time after burial, the family will be neglected. That is the culture. And so I don't feel safe. I don't know about you, but I know that even with your colleague journalists who have been brutalized and all of these things that have happened in the past few years under President Akufo-Addo, you are not supposed to feel safe.
The presidency,
Johnny,
has announced the installation of security cameras across the country.
Johnny,
that's one.
Johnny,
Number two, the government says we're working on street lights to illuminate places. That's another leg. And we are looking also at recruiting a lot more policemen and security people to assist. There's a national security strategy that's just been rolled out to be implemented. So something is being done, somebody will say.
Johnny, you have been a journalist for a while now. Ask yourself if this is the first time you are hearing these same empty rhetorics on security in the past 4 or 5 years under President Akufo-Addo. The truth is that we have a breakdown of security in this country under President Akufo-Addo. The state of lawlessness directly can be blamed and should be blamed on President Akufo-Addo because he is the #1 gentleman of the land.
But there are people who are working.
When you,
we have an IGP, we have an interior minister, we have a defense minister, we have a national security minister, we have a national security coordinator.
All the people you are mentioning are appointees of the president. If he is not satisfied with their work, okay, he is supposed to use the same instruments that they use in appointing them to get them out. He maintained almost everybody that he worked with in the last 4 years. Even when every Ghanaian was complaining that there is heightened insecurity in this country, it tells you that for President Akufo-Addo, he is satisfied with the current insecurity system.
That's not
Johnny,
fair. That's not fair.
No, Johnny, the lawlessness started from the presidency. And you see, I hate coming back to this point. Let's begin. In the first week of the president being sworn in as president of the Republic of Ghana, what happened to DSP Nanka Bruce? Right at the presidency. Johnny, what happened to all the vigilante forces, the brutalities, people who have been caught with illegal arms? Has anybody been punished? If there are no punitive measures.
Okay.
So all of this, and so Johnny, the state of insecurity is solely the responsibility of President Akufo-Addo and his government.
So what kind of reforms do you want to see?
Now
quickly,
these reforms,
and then Uko will come
these reforms must start with the political will, not this knee-jerk reaction. One, even the IGP, the one with this knee-jerk reaction, giving banks a few days, because end of June is just about a week or two away from today.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today. Johnny, he the IGP, how old is he? Is he on top of his job? Is he not supposed to be on retirement? Why are we not talking about it? He the IGP. At what point, as IGP, did he realize that the vans that he was sending his men to protect are not vans that are worth that function? At what point? So when there is a problem, he gets a microphone to talk as if pretending. Is it today that he's realizing that these are the vans that the banks are using? Is it today that the IGP is realizing that? When he sends his men to protect these vans every morning, how many of them does he give vests to?
Desperate situations.
Speak
call
to
for
some of the
desperate
police
measures.
officers. Some even complain that sometimes the guns that they hold, sometimes to even get bullets is difficult, but you just have to hold it to create an impression.
They told you that?
Johnny, speak to police officers. They are complaining. So the IGP, at what point did he realize that the bullion vans that the banks are using are not appropriate? Bank of Ghana, regulators, when they were busy collapsing banks and telling us that they were embarking on reforms, they didn't know that the bullion vans are supposed to be included in some of these issues.
So
Johnny,
you want the IGP gone?
The IGP must leave first. There must be total reform in our security architecture. President Akufo-Addo must take responsibility for the heightened insecurity and accept that when it comes to security, he has failed.
If the IGP goes,
Many of the appointees, the ministers.
And if the IGP goes, another IGP will be appointed by the president. All ranks from ACP all the way up, ACP, DCOP, COP will still be appointed, or will have to get authentication from the presidency before they are okayed. Johnny, police council will still have vice president as chairman, IGP there, interior minister there, appointees of government there, Ghana Bar Association, a couple of others there. If you let the IGP alone go, you have not changed anything.
Johnny, that is not an excuse.
You have not changed anything.
Listen, Johnny, when you go, that is not the excuse for allowing an IGP who by age does not qualify to be there, who we all know his role and what he was doing was purposely for electoral purposes. After that, speak to his men. They have no confidence in him. Clearly, the police administration, as we speak today, is not on top of its duties.
Okay,
and
thank you.
The point is that whatever reforms that we are seeking must start from the presidency. President Akufo-Addo has the primary responsibility to provide security to the people of Ghana. Clearly, he has failed in that. It is not too late. We can get back to the drawing board. Sack your ministers of security and national security. Dissolve that so-called National Security Council. Because, Johnny, why are we even not talking about the proliferation of arms in the system today?
Okay, thank you very much.
The vigilante forces sponsored by Akufo-Addo and his group.
Well, I think you're going too extreme.
Johnny,
okay, let me come to you.
I don't feel safe.
Okay, I can appreciate your sentiments. Okay, let me come to you. So we have a 2014 base survey that was quoted in the National Security Strategy. It was conducted, I think, by the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission. So the Ministry of Interior is also there. But in that survey, we are told that we have an estimated number of 2.3 million guns in circulation in private hands. Out of this number, more than 1 million of them are unaccounted for. The 1.3 or so million that can be accounted for, which are given permits, is just a minute fraction, about 30 or 40,000 that come to renew every single year. Now, this is my question. It is the job of the Interior Minister to grant licenses to people, for people to own guns. If we have such numbers of guns out there, registered, unregistered, refusing to re-register or re-license, and the Interior Ministry is sitting pretty, but continues issuing permits, shouldn't we be worried and asking the Interior Minister why he's doing that?
Well, I mean, Johnny, it's a very legitimate question. But before I come there, let me, I was very quiet, as true to my nature, took some notes so that I don't interrupt. But let me do a few responses. I've written his exact words. He said, what is accounting for the height of insecurity? Use the word height. Please, I was quiet. Height, trying to create the impression that we are having unprecedented levels of crime. But you see, you don't say such things out of a vacuum. It is appropriate to give the figures, so that it becomes factual and not an opinion or a biased position that was conceived before he came here. And it's deliberate. If you watch their approach to discussing these issues is to create the impression that this country is like Chad or Northern Burkina, where now when you are walking, you ought to be scared. But Johnny, and then, like I said, we take this approach, and the motivation is 2024. They are not even interested in how to protect the policemen today. Theirs is political power in 4 years' time. Are you saying that when JM becomes president, there will be no crime here? Let's discuss the factors so that we can improve our security.
The IGP says there's crime everywhere, apart from heaven.
I choose my words. I'm a communicator.
Okay.
I'm choosing my words well. You see, because he says that blame Nana, and I know he's a politician who says he wants power in 4 years' time, I am asking him that should his boss become president, are we not going to have some of these things? I mean, what you want to do is to make sure that you improve your security and sustain the improvement. Dr. Kobo, in 2015, Akufo-Addo was not president. Armed robbers visited, came to me. I was attacked. Everything, wedding ring, all, I gave it to them. A week later, 7 days later, they came again. It was a security man who advised me that don't sleep at the same place. Go to another place. Had it not been for that advice, maybe they would have killed me or something. Is it smart to say that because of that event, the whole state, the whole nation is in a state of insecurity? I reported to the police. The most important is that the factors that led to such a thing, we ought to address them. Yes, I understand that crime.
Do you feel safe?
Look, my brother himself, he came here alone.
Do you feel safe?
whoever he came with, I'm coming. Whoever he came with, should he have come with? Maybe his driver or something. But he's not with a policeman. He's not with a soldier. Okobo, I came here alone. I drove my car.
You have not answered my question. Do you feel safe?
Of course I feel safe.
Okay, great.
Johnny, but the point is that, look, because of my experience with robbery some years ago, my instincts and personal security is very serious.
Right.
So I think I appreciate the fact that there are factors that push people into crime, which ought to be addressed. Those are long-term factors.
Okay.
But there are also immediate factors that we can work on. Johnny, in terms of the, how do you call it?
The growing numbers of
Yes.
guns
You
in
know,
the system,
I
and
think-
we keep giving permits.
You see, the discussion alone is part of the solution. These conversations have a way of building momentum so that we can have a national dialogue on how to go, I mean, the approach going forward. Should we, because there are people who can apply today and legitimately deserve to be given arms. It does not also mean that you should sleep on what has happened to your previous, we should ignore what has happened to our previous authorization or permits, you understand? Now, I remember in Australia, they had one case of mass shooting. You know, there's a classical documentary on the approach Australia has taken compared to the US.
Right.
Australia had one case of mass shooting. They came heavily from the top on the system, did a national audit, asked all guns more or less to be. So the approvals we've done, we can say that this week, anyone who has even an authorized gun should present the gun for
We have done that before. We even burnt guns. I remember under Hakman,
but you see, the good news is that this has been done in certain countries before. It has been able to reduce crime. It has, if not fully, it has to some extent solved the problem.
But Oko, you see, we don't even have a monitoring system, so to speak. Because if you can license over 1.3 million guns, and you are bold enough to say per survey, and which even makes its way into the national security strategy, that you have just about 30 or 40,000 of them who come to renew annually, and the rest are still there. But you don't trace the rest, but you keep giving license for new guns to be in circulation. Then I will have a problem with monitoring and evaluation.
No, I mean, if you speak to or speak about monitoring and evaluation, it is fair and well. But the point I am making is that these are, when you start a discussion, these are matters that can be put on the table. It is very possible. And one thing I always take delight in, pleasure in, which I tell folks, it's not wrong to learn from others. That's why they say you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Most countries, or many countries that have done well when it comes to gun culture and relationship to crime, whatever they did, these are documented activities. You don't even need to travel there to know. It's just a matter of talking to those authorities, getting their policy, reading through the documents, and then contextualizing it in your own setting. So, Johnny, I mean, these are it is these matters you are raising that will solve the problem, not that the Nankabus, I mean, saying the same story. It's like going into an examination with questions you have to other answers to certain questions. Even if you don't find those questions in the book, you find a way to come to your own question that was set in your house and then start to put. That's what my brother is doing. Look, at the end of the day, there are two ingredients that are key for the police, which anytime I meet the IGP or the policeman, I tell them, our police must be promoted or must get incentives based on output. It appears in this country, promotion is by default. How many years you've been around.
Right.
So once you do that, look, I always give the example. Take Lejokuku, for example, whoever is the police commander. If there are 10 reports or complaints of crime, once you say that solving 30% is what will guarantee the next promotion, Johnny, you go and meet a director who on his own will send his men to go after people and try and solve a problem. The way things are now, a policeman will be paid whether he looks at your case or not.
But sometimes, okay, to be fair to the police also, I mean, you travel to some of, because we do a lot of travels, and you travel to some of the villages. A whole police station has just about 1 or 2 policemen. The whole, whatever, has 1 gun.
Johnny,
they don't have a vehicle.
Johnny, look.
So, for such a policeman, if there's crime there, what does he do?
Johnny, for some reason, I'm doing some work, some research on motivation among health workers.
Right.
And what makes health workers want to stay in the cities and not down there. And then some of the things that it has revealed or taught me is that there are two kinds of motivation.
Okay.
There's the intrinsic and the extrinsic.
Right.
The extrinsic one or the outside one normally is based on the tools you are given,
Right.
the conditions of your
Right.
work, how much you are paid.
Right.
There's also the intrinsic,
Which is a passion.
the passion, where you want to achieve things because that's what makes you fulfilled. Look, the Israelis have a quote that the strength of an army is not in its numbers, but it's in its willingness and intelligence. So that you can have a police station with only 2 officers there. If someone commits a crime in that village, with just intelligence, they would be able to fish out the person. Look, I'm not saying that the police is hugely or significantly inadequate. The point I'm making is that when we start to restructure some of our HR policies and to demand to reward people based on output, it will change the game.
Okay.
It will significantly change the game. And then lastly, I think I want to join others to say that as a country, whatever funds the police needs, we must work to make sure that every policeman who steps outside with a weapon gets a bulletproof vest. This one is a national call. All of us must come together. Look, and you see, that's one thing we don't do a lot in Africa. Outside, there can even be a private, initiative, like a trust, where we go like, look, we are raising $10 million to give every police officer a vest.
We built Ghana's first infectious disease center with our own money.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Government money was not part of it.
Look,
so we know how to do it.
No, but the point I'm making is that yes, there are a lot that we can do as citizens.
I agree.
To support.
I agree.
the
But
initiative.
give me a direct answer on this one. I have created a scenario for you. Guns are registered. They are floating. We don't know how many they are. We have only estimated. People come to renew. Just a few come to renew. And we are continuing giving licenses for people to own guns. Should we stop at some point and do the audit, or should we continue giving licenses where we don't know where? Because when there's excess guns, it will get into the hands of the robbers.
Jenny, my science that I learned in PUSEC tells me that a gun, when you put it on water, it will not float. The water it displaces is not enough to keep it. It will sink.
Right.
You know, you just told me the guns are floating.
The laws of flotation.
Yeah, exactly. So that applies to the ship. But by the way, the point I want to make is that calling for monitoring and evaluation is well and good. There are 2 things you want to know. Is there such a mechanism in place already? If there is, then it is possible that it is deficient. If there's not, we can put one in place. These are the things we have to work on.
So now as a physician, should we stop the bleeding before we start treating? But you told me about your science in PUSEC.
Usually,
physics. Now I'm asking you as a practicing physician, should we stop the bleeding before we treat?
There are occasions where, as a doctor, I've had occasions where I'm transfusing and I'm stopping bleeding. Sometimes you have to do both.
Okay. So in this case, what do we do?
We do both.
We do both. We should continue giving licenses.
The reason why I'm saying so is that, look,
I'll come to you.
Look, the reason why I'm saying so is that there are legitimate requests. You know, today someone can walk to the Interior Ministry. The fellow is, let's say, a diplomat. He's coming to the country. He is working with in some high security zone where you must be protected. I mean, if the fellow qualifies, why not?
Okay. All right. Adam, so this is a response from the Inspector General of Police, perhaps to you. I'm reading from the Ghana Web. It says, "We are doing what we can to protect the people of Ghana. There is no society in the world where there is no crime. Even in the USA, UK, and Sweden, where they more or less have everything, they still have crime. The only place that doesn't have crime is heaven, and we are not in heaven," James Opobuenu said. He continues, "So, if any so-called security analyst is saying that we are not on top of our game, and that's why these things are happening, he does not know what he's talking about." And then he comes. Normally, in a security system, if you have a strategy and the strategy is breached, you go back, regroup after making your assessment. You try to mend those breaches, and then that is exactly what we are going to do. We will intensify the patrols to make sure it doesn't happen again. This is what the IGP said yesterday when they went to visit the family of the slain policeman. I'll put this question this way. What do you say to the IGP's response to your call?
Johnny, the IGP made this statement yesterday.
Yesterday to the press.
It is almost 8 a.m. this morning and he's still at post. it means that we are not serious.
Why are you bent on getting
You see, it is not
You have to
a targeted.
the appointer.
It is not.
President.
It is not a targeted attempt to just get the IGP out. You have a responsibility of providing security, and that is what the Constitution gives you power to do as a police service. And why is the IGP creating an impression as though what happened in Kolebu is an isolated case?
Is that the dimple?
The chronicles of events shows clearly that there's insecurity in this country. Yes, if you go to any nation or any society in this world, there are some isolated cases of crime. And even what happens after these crimes are committed is that these crimes get investigated, people get arrested and prosecuted. But in our instance, or in our case, Johnny, tell me, from 2017, many of these high-profile cases,
Right.
how many people have been arrested? It means that there is even a deficiency with our investigative system, which again falls under the CID or the IGP.
I see.
Apart from that, Johnny, apart from that, we have a problem where these incidents that we're talking about keep reoccurring. And all that the IGP can tell us is that we are not in heaven. It's only heaven that we don't have crime. And such a person is leading our security
Maybe we
agency.
should bring angels to come and become IGP because there's no crime.
Johnny, in other jurisdictions where there are isolated cases of this crime or criminal activities, it is human beings that are heading it. It's a problem of leadership.
The arms
And it's a problem of leadership led by President Akufo-Addo not making enough commitment, because if President Akufo-Addo were committed to the fight against crime,
we have 2 minutes. Let's make
Johnny, who
use
is
of
in
it.
charge of security? Who is the head of security?
We have.
No, who is the head of security? Who is the head of the National Security Council? It is President Akufo-Addo.
Allow. So we have just about 2 minutes. Let's use the word. The Arms and Ammunition Act is 60 years.
He's not interested now. He's interested.
Johnny,
Do we start looking at community policing as well?
Johnny, we've had community policing in this country before. As we speak, in some communities, especially in the rural areas, they have their own watchdog committees, and some of these attempts to replicate something similar to the community policing stuff. In fact, we have that system. Is it working?
I don't see them anymore.
It hasn't worked because I'm telling you that the problem we have is a leadership problem. You see, don't blame the ordinary police officer on the grounds there. It is not his duty to provide for himself bulletproof vest.
So when a soldier slaps you,
It is not. No,
you in town, it is the commander chief.
The analogy you are trying to draw cannot. No, you cannot.
everything
You are comparing. You are talking about individually. I'm talking about the fact that it is the police service that must make the effort to provide security. Are they doing it? It is not an isolated case. The Kolebu incident is not an isolated case. These things are happening all around us. People get arrested, and because they have political connections.
This never happened under other jurisdictions.
No, I'm not saying it never happened,
Yes,
but I'm
so
saying that we have heightened security
let's discuss
because
the factors.
consistent. The chronicle.
The word you use heightened. What's your statistics?
Heightened because as I speak to you,
What's the figure?
as I speak to you, they ask you a question that are you safe? I don't feel safe. Ghanaians don't feel safe because almost on daily basis you have a plethora.
An MP was
You have a
slaughtered
plethora.
under you. Were you feeling safe?
Ahmed Swale was slaughtered under you. And his no, Ahmed Swale was slaughtered under you. Many other murder cases under you.
Gentlemen.
Is that the case?
Were you okay?
I'm saying
Under
isolated.
JM, were you safe?
Thank you.
So you see,
Were you safe
under
under
JM, I
JM?
was safe.
But JB
I
was
could go out and
JB was slaughtered.
an isolated case, but there's consistency
You call it an isolated
almost
case.
every day under President Akufo-Addo. Lawlessness,
Let's
indiscipline,
discuss the
insecurity, and that is what is
How you
happening.
come
Okay, gentlemen, thank you
You
very
should have
much.
come at least with some.
Because I can't afford a
Thank you.
security officer.
Please
Maybe
put
you
the
can
microphone
afford.
off for me. Grateful for your time. Edem Agbana, he is the Deputy Youth Commander of the NDC, and he's been here with Dr. Bernard Okoboy. Dr. Bernard Okoboy, he is a former member of Parliament for Lejokuku. Oko. So one of my uncles sent me this. He says your skills development project bus stop, which he applauds. He says it's now become a permanent location for somebody who is not sound up there between Papaya and Melcom on the Springtest Road. So maybe you want to go there. So you started a good thing. He wants you to maintain it. Mr. Adam Bona sent me this. It's one of the persons who mentioned that the IGP perhaps is out of touch. It says the IGP is out of touch with the reality. How can an IGP say there is crime everywhere? So those talking don't know what they are saying, and he's still at post at the expense of those who can do the work. He was not giving contract extension twice to complain. It is a state of hopelessness we find ourselves. Time is up for IGP to go, saying there is an increase in crime in West Africa, so we should stop talking in Ghana. It's like saying he is now the Inspector General of West African Police. How did we get here? He's asking. Prince Henry Koforidia says, good morning, Johnny. We asked Mr. Daniel Domelevo to go on retirement because he has attained the age of 60. So why are we still keeping the current IGP after 2 years of his retirement? Are we saying we can't get any competent COP who is below 60 to occupy that position? I feel sad, my beloved country. And Ambassador Sampiale sent this one. It says, oh, Uncle Johnny, what is extreme more than the policeman being killed in police stations, a bullion van? Okoboy, please, you are not only a political communicator, but you are also a professional. The Boko Haram did not have such easy foundations. Let's be careful how we discuss this. Oko, can you read what our president said about security in the 2016 manifesto? The whole chapter was about Ghanaians not feeling safe in the Mahama-led administration. In Mahama's time, no Takrady girls were kidnapped. Policemen were killed in bullion vans and on and on and on. That's from Ambassador Sampiale. He sent that one to you.